Welcome to Bold Talk. I'm Angela Belcamino. My guest today is a seemingly fearless, very bold, brave truth teller. Sarah Fields is in the house. What's up, Sarah? Thanks so much
Huh?
for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. This is going to be different.
Yeah. So you just had a baby.
I did.
Like,
Yeah. He's 8 weeks. Well, actually, is today Monday? Today's
yeah.
Monday. Yeah, he's 9 weeks today. So
Oh, no. Happy 9 weeks.
I know it went by really fast.
That's what I hear. I don't have any children myself, unfortunately, but you
We're
know,
waiting.
I feel like people we've been talking about baby fever all over X, so you never know. We'll see what happens in Florida here, but yeah, I hear the time flies. So how has it been? How was your pregnancy this time? How are you tired? Are you are you sleeping?
I am tired because I'm a little bit older. He is my fourth baby, and yeah. And as you get older and more babies, I think you tend to get more tired each time. Because I was pretty stinking tired this pregnancy, and then there was a lot of stress that was going on during my pregnancy that I'm sure you've read about. And then the delivery was a little stressful, but he's such a wonderful baby. Honestly, I think God was like, I'm gonna give you a break because of all my babies, he is the easiest baby. He's already sleeping through the night. He might wake up once, and he hardly ever cries. He's so smiley. He's so happy. So I got really lucky with that because my last baby was not like that. So
It's funny to hear the stories of like just how different it is, like each
they are all
pregnancy, each
different.
children, each child. I mean, yeah. So that's wild. And I'm happy that, it sounds like with everything else that you had going on, I'm glad that,
Mhm.
you know, it wasn't worse, but congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, he's precious.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to talk to you. I super admire what you do. Like I said, seemingly fearless. The work that you do as an investigative journalist sounds scary. I mean, you really put yourself out there. I'm, curious to hear how you sort of deal with that and how you got into it. If, what I love about Bold Talk is that I'm really trying to help people kind of get to know you better, learn more about your background beyond just social media and posts and content and what they might think that they know about you. It seems like really hard work, what you do.
Yeah, it's
So
constant. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, it just really speaks to me how passionate you are and must be to put yourself out there and, this level of commitment and all of what you deal with, the backlash and legally, I'm sure there's so much that you deal with as well. But let's kind of start, like, back it up. I'm just kind of curious a little bit about your early life, your upbringing. What was that like, your younger years and your family?
So I was the second of seven children. And the oldest was 10 years older than me. So she left home when I was just 10 years old. So actually, I think I was younger. I think it was 8 or 9, because she left home right at 18. And then I grew up with a bunch of kids. I have four brothers and two sisters. And then, I grew up in a Baptist, very, very legalistic, strict household. My my mom was very legalistic and strict, but my stepfather was incredibly legalistic, strict, and very abusive. So I did not have the best childhood, to be honest. And my mother and my stepdad are now divorced, but they were together through the entire time that I was growing up. And I got out of there as fast as I could as well, to be perfectly honest with you. Because my stepdad was incredibly abusive. I think especially towards me and my older sister, because technically we were not his biological children, maybe. Um, but I got out of there as fast as possible. But growing up, I was completely homeschooled. All of us were homeschooled. We didn't have TV. We were not allowed to eat candy or eat anything sugary. A lot of people think it's crazy that I didn't even taste Kool-Aid for the first time till I was an adult. So I had a very different kind of childhood. So yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that you were in an abusive environment and had to deal with all of that. I'm sure, I don't know if you have a chance to talk about that very much, but I appreciate you sharing it. I know that, is hard and it's personal. I do think, coming from a mental health background, it is super helpful for people to know and hear because, you're not alone. And so many people do, deal with abuse, whether it's emotional, physical. So I think it helps you feel less alone when you can connect with others and hear that others had similar experiences.
Yeah, I actually I embrace my past, and I didn't used to be like that, but I embrace my past full-heartedly now because it does allow me to connect with people on a different level who have been through the same things that I have. And it's very helpful with advocacy work, and it's very helpful, honestly, with investigative journalism because a lot of the people that I report on and a lot of the children that I report on, and their parents, they're going through abusive situations, and I'm able to level with them on that, to come to an understanding, not just empathy, but an actual understanding of what's going on. So
Totally.
yeah, but my stepdad, he was very verbally, mentally, physically, I mean, you name it, he was all the types of abuse. And then there were, of course, there were sexual allegations to my brothers. So there was just a lot that went on growing up. And when I got out of there, I'm not gonna lie, like who I am today is not who I was then. Because when I left that house, I was angry. I was depressed, like incredibly depressed. I was a very depressed teenager. And I went down, like, I want to say when I left home, I went off the deep end. Like, I did everything that I wasn't supposed to do, got involved in things I should not have gotten involved in. And just honestly, sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I should be dead right now. Just because of how off the deep end I went. But I pulled myself out of it. And part of pulling that myself out of that was actually joining the military. Because I had a little girl. I was a teen mom. I had a little girl not long after I left. Um, and I joined the military because she had some medical problems when she was born, some medical issues, and I was working three jobs, two jobs during the week and a waitressing job on the weekend. And I was living in California and I just wasn't making it. I couldn't survive and I couldn't take care of her the way I needed to. So I joined the military. And then I was in the military for several years, for almost 5 years. Um, and it was actually in the military, because the military, she was able to get the medical help that she needed because she was born with pituitary dwarfism. So she was born incredibly small. And that came with all of its own um, medical
Challenge.
conditions on the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I love that some modern medicine I totally embrace because she was diagnosed while I was in the military, actually, with pituitary dwarfism. Before that, they were just calling it failure to thrive. And then they were able to get her on growth hormone injections that I had to give her every day. And through the growth hormone injections, she was actually able to grow to a height to have some sense of normalcy in life. Because without them, she would have been teeny tiny. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen someone with pituitary dwarfism, but lots of them don't get over a few feet tall, you know. But
Yeah.
but she was able to achieve 4'10". So she's still a little bitty, but she has, a sense of normalcy. She can live in the world with, just being incredibly short. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, as you're speaking about your background, not a lot of this, obviously, I don't think any of us knew. It's just really striking me how resilient and strong you are, like for everything that you've been through. I just want to say that's just jumping out at me. And I can see how you're not the same person that you were. Like all of these experiences and challenges that you have to fight through in life, really lead to who you are today.
Well, yeah, I would definitely say so because it didn't even end there. Um, growing up in,
There's more.
yeah, I'm like, that's not even it. Like, I grew up in an abusive home and then had to make it as a teen mom and then went in the military. And of course, the military has its challenges. And I dealt with a lot of mental health problems, that challenges that I had to overcome after that. And then after that, I went and did not break the chain. I married an abusive man, a very abusive man. And it took me quite a long time to crawl out of that. So all of that has definitely made me who I am today for sure. So
Oh my goodness. What do you think it is that, that got you through all of that? Like what was helpful or, is it like character, traits or strengths within yourself, or was there other things that helped you through all of these challenges?
I like to say God, but I definitely do believe that God was there through a lot of it. But at multiple points through that, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I rejected the idea of God. I actually hated him. For what I was being put through. I didn't see the big picture at that point, obviously, yet. So when I was little, my hair is very dark now, but when I was little, I had this bright, fiery, crazy red hair, right? Like it was like fire and freckles everywhere. And my mom called me her insane wild child. Because she said I did have a tenacity that could not be broken. And she said I did crazy things. Like, I mean, she said I would take off down the road naked at 3 years old and jump into my neighbor's pool. And I did not know how to swim, all sorts of crazy stuff. Like I gave her heart attack after heart attack after heart attack. She did not know what to do with me. And I kind of maintained character like that, as I grew up, just crazy, you couldn't tell me what to do. I was very, I don't know. I was very wild and rebellious, I guess is probably a good word to use as a teenager. But I think that attitude and that character grew into something that was just really maybe just something that like you're not going to break me. I'm going to come out of this because there were times as a teenager that I felt very suicidal because I just didn't want to be here anymore. I never obviously went through with anything like that, but that's where I was at mentally. But I made it through that. And then through my marriage, my abusive marriage, I don't know. I don't know how to explain. I came out the other side very strong. And I know that lots of women come out very broken. And for a little while I was broken. But not all women break out of that brokenness, into like, I'm going to use this for good and I'm going to go do something big, with what I've been through. So I think a lot of it does have to do with God, but I think a lot of it also has to do with character and just who I am as a person.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that?
no, for sure. I'm always so curious to know because it is kind of different for everyone. Like a lot of us do have dark times. I mean, a lot of us struggle with mental health challenges. Life is life. And it can be a lot, all, in different ways. We all have our things. So I'm always curious. Yeah. Like what it was that I find it inspirational to help other people to know, like, what was it that got you out of that dark time, and I think yes, it's like sometimes digging deep within yourself. And like you said, it's certain character, but it's also like, where did that come from? But it sounds like, yeah, you're a fighter. It sounds like you're a fighter.
Definitely a fighter. I'll never forget the first time I actually hit my husband back. And it was because I said I was going to go to church. And this is like a memory that's burned in me. And it happened not long before we decided to leave, or I decided to get my kids out of there and leave. Cause I had a son with him. But I was going to church and I got into the car and he didn't want me to go. And part of it was because he was very narcissistic and he wanted to isolate me. He had been doing that for years, where he had convinced me that my family wanted nothing to do with me, that my friends wanted nothing to do with me, that I was insane, that I was the one who was mentally ill, that I was completely alone in the world. But someone had reached out to me on social media and wanted me to go to church. And so I decided that I was going to go to church that morning. I didn't know anybody at this church or anything, but I was going to go. And I put my kids in the back seat and I got in the car, and he came out and he swung the door open and he grabbed me by my hair. It was about this long. He grabbed me by my hair and dragged me across the front yard and was screaming at me the whole time, telling me, "You're not going anywhere. You didn't even ask me if I wanted to go." I'm like, "Why would I want you to go?" But just all these crazy things. And the neighbor actually saw it and called the police, but literally dragged me across by my hair. I could feel my hair ripping out of my scalp. And I saw stars. And I remember standing up, and I hit him so hard. Because I just had enough. I just couldn't do it anymore. I hit him so hard. And then I ran back and got in my car and I left and I went to church. And you know what happened is it was totally actually maybe a God thing, because someone at church somehow saw the brokenness in me. I didn't even say anything. Saw the brokenness in me, said, "Can I talk to you?" and asked me what home life was like. And I told her, and she said, "Oh no, we're getting you out of there." And they got me out of there. So yeah, that's what triggered the whole me leaving him. So
And I mean, just from hearing other people's, like, that's a terrifying thing to do, right? You don't know if he's going to come try to find you, what he's going to do, what he's capable of. So,
I
um,
knew what he was capable of because
yeah.
he was a police officer.
Oh,
Yeah. And he threatened, that was what, see, that's one of the things that he did all the time, that he used his position to threaten me. And I know that a lot of men and women do this because, there's abuse on both sides. But he used my children against me. And that's honestly what took me a while to leave him. Was he told me that if I ever left, that he would take my children away from me. That was the threat he used over and over and over again. "If you try to leave me, or if you try to go anywhere or do anything or report me, I'm going to take the kids away from you." And I was a nobody. Like, no one knew who I was. I had no name. And he was a police officer, and he was very well liked. So I knew what he was capable of. And so that alone, that was pretty terrifying, that alone.
it
So,
sounds like it. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, just using power and influence and control and just, I mean, I'm so glad that you're okay and that you got out. Yeah, I imagine like you've had an opportunity for other people to I appreciate you sharing your story because again, for people who might be in a similar situation or dealing with something similar, they could reach out to you. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure you've been able to, through your work, this has
Yeah.
come up and you've been able to help other people.
Yeah, and it didn't even stop there. Like, he did try to take my children away from me. He did not succeed. And then the very dark side of it all is that part of the reason he was trying to take my children away from me was so that he could sexually molest my daughter. And then we didn't find out about that until years down the line, because I always thought it was weird. He wanted access to my daughter so badly. And she was not even biologically his kid. I met him in the military, and I could never figure out, why do you want her so bad? Like, he mistreated her so horribly while we were together. I just didn't understand it. And then later on, when she was 15 years old, she told me what actually happened. And in the process of him trying to take my children away, he smeared me. He told everybody that I was this horrible mom, that I abused my kids, that, all these things. And again, he didn't succeed. In fact, what actually happened is that he is now in prison for what he did to my daughter. So the ex, who was a police officer who abused me, abused my kids, I got out of it, is now finally seeing his day in prison. And it was a long wait. It took years for that to happen, but it did eventually happen. And I helped put him there, and I'm very proud of that.
Wow. Yeah, and
Like,
that's not it. I mean, none of that is an easy like that. None of that is an easy road. And like you said, a
no.
lengthy process. I'm so happy that you feel like you got justice in that scenario, though. That it, how long ago? How long has he been in prison now?
So my daughter was 15, and then he finally went to prison about a year later. And I know that's a long time, but when the walls were closing in on him and he realized that he was caught, he ran. And he ran to Mexico. And ICE is actually who ended up picking him up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's all because he made the stupid mistake of taking an Uber and they ran his driver's license, and that's how he got caught by ICE. But he did try to hide. It's crazy. Like,
Oh,
I feel like my life is like if everyone knew everything that happened in my life, it could be a freaking Lifetime movie. I don't know, but
well, maybe, yeah, maybe someone from Lifetime will watch this interview and
why?
And
Yeah.
I know.
And
See, this is why I'm so happy that you were able to come on and tell your story because it's wild. You've been through so much, you and your kids. I'm so glad you're all okay. Uh,
Well, oh, to answer your question real quick.
yeah.
So see, my daughter's 20 now, so that would have been 5 years ago. So he's been in prison, I think, for about 4 years, and he only has 6 or 7 years left because he took a plea deal. So it's justice, but it's a little bitter because I'm like, man, I feel like he should, if he had been convicted, he would have been convicted and been in prison for life. Like life is the maximum sentence, but because he took a plea deal, he will be out in, I believe, 6 or 7 years. So for what he did, I don't think that's one. Like, I'm glad he's there, but for what he did, I feel like he should be there longer. So
Yeah. No, I hear you. Punishment doesn't necessarily fit the crime in that
no,
scenario.
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
So,
How's your daughter doing?
she's
I mean, you don't have to
okay.
go too much into it if you don't want to, but is she?
Yeah, I won't. But
Yeah.
she's dealing with her own challenges. But she has the tenacity that I do. She has a very willful, if I can say bold
Yeah.
character.
Stay
Yeah.
bold as many
Uh,
times as you want.
yeah. I think that she's gonna be okay. I do. I think she's gonna come out on the other side. I think she's going through it right now. But I do think she's gonna come out on the other side just as strong. So I have very high hopes for her.
Well, she has a great model, you know, and a great example. So I have no doubt that, you're an incredible mother and helping her through all of the challenges.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely doing my best. I definitely, when she told me what happened, I mean, she got the ball rolling, but I advocated for her incredibly hard. The investigation team and everybody that was involved, the law enforcement that was actually involved in this, did a phenomenal job pinning him down. So
great.
because we actually found out that she wasn't his only victim. So yeah.
Wow. I'm so sorry. I think something else, that jumped out at me as you were talking is like the importance of, I don't know, people being kind, being observed, like not being bystanders. You know what I mean? So the people that were sort of there for you or like tried to help you with everything you were going through. I think it's really speaks to, unfortunately we see a lot of like people watching things and filming it, right? But like just to kind of, just trying to be kind and help people. And, when you see something, say something. I think all that can be, give you just help support you when you're going through something like that.
And you never really know what someone might be going through. You know, people are so quick to jump on other people and accuse them of things or say something about someone. You don't know what that person's going through. You don't know what's going on in their personal life because, I mean, we have this. Which reveals a lot, but we have social media where people jump on there and, they might differ in opinion, but because they have a different opinion, people jump down their throat and then throw out these crazy accusations that honestly, words have power. And honestly, I feel like some things that are said about someone could be more hurtful to them than if you said it to someone else, simply because it might pour over into their personal life. It's like, okay, you don't know what I went through. People make jokes all the time about for example, people make jokes all the time about, one time someone commented to me and was like, your husband should be beating you or something like that. They don't know anything about my past, right? And saying something so flippantly could be very damaging to someone who doesn't have as strong character as I do. I have very thick skin. I do. But for someone who might not have thick skin, that could really mentally mess with someone and mess with their spirit. And I just don't think that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that. I think it's good. It's a good reminder and refresher for everyone to think about those things. You're absolutely right. Words have power. We all have our own things we're going through. And like just the nastiness and the ugliness, I'm so over it. The name calling, the nastiness, the ugliness. It's just, yeah, it's it's tough
And I'll
to
be
do.
honest, I'm not gonna say that I'm not guilty of being pretty aggressive with people online, you know. Like I said, I mean, I am pretty aggressive online, but to me, it's like, okay, do I roll over and take it or do I snap back? And lots of times I do snap back. So, I mean, even I am guilty of being very aggressive, but I will tell you one thing I will not do is I will not, falsely accuse someone of doing something that they didn't do, especially something as dark as, you're a pedophile or something like that, or your husband should beat you, or you should be dead, or you won't catch me saying things like that. But there
Yeah.
are people who will, and that's where the line is crossed and I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You don't take those things lightly, but you're right. Other people do throw those things around, and that's another level. So I want to touch briefly, if you don't mind, a little bit about your military experience. I know you mentioned there was challenges there. I can only imagine. What was your experience like? You said for 5 years, right?
5 years, yeah. I'll just touch briefly on it. I don't like to get too
Yeah,
much into it.
sure.
I will say that I lost a very good friend in the military, and my recruiter told me, and a lot of people say this. A lot of people are like, "Oh, she said it." That my recruiter told me, because recruiters lie. My recruiter told me that single parents do not deploy. That was an outright lie.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Yeah. So, and that's okay. I would have wanted to deploy, but I had a little girl and I'm like, I want to be here for her because I'm all she had, and, when 9/11 happened, I actually told my mom I was going to join the military. And it was because I wanted to fight. But after I had my daughter, perspective changed a little bit. Um, and my recruiter used the angle of, if you join the military, you're never going to have to worry about her medical bills, which that was true. All her medical was taken care of. And I was very overwhelmed with the challenges that she had. And so I joined the military and I went through basic and AIT. I was military police. So, I was OSUT, which is one station unit training. So basic training went right into AIT. There was no breaks there. So it was 5 months of rigorous training all the way through. And then I found out that I got stationed in Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yay, Hawaii, right? What nobody tells you is that you go to Hawaii to deploy. There's no buts about it. Like, if you are going to Hawaii, don't get super excited because you are going to deploy almost immediately. And that was true. So I get there and literally I wasn't even in like my home yet, like my because we got a house because I had a daughter. We were considered, otherwise it would have been barracks, but because I was a parent, we had a house. Um, and I wasn't even settled into our home yet when I was told that I was going to deploy. And so and I went to and at one point after that I went to Bangladesh, and honestly, Bangladesh messed me up more than any other deployment, because Bangladesh is where I lost my very good friend. And then after that, I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. And I missed my daughter's first birthday. I missed her second birthday. I missed her first step. I missed her first word. I felt like I was missing everything. So like, yes, she was being taken care of medically, but at what cost?
Right.
Was there no other way I could figure this out? Because I was completely missing my daughter's life, you know?
Yeah,
It,
you're sacrificing so much else. Yeah.
yeah. So, so I finished my first enlistment and I actually re-enlisted, but I actually never finished my second enlistment. I was actually able to get out on, what do they call it? Parent,
Hmm.
I can't remember the name of it. It's parent something. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. But basically, if you're, I can't, it'll come to me later. Um, but basically, if you're a single parent and you can't find a means of making sure that they're properly taken care of when you deploy, then you have the capability of getting out of the military, which that's what I did. So
Wow.
it's gonna drive me crazy because I can't think of that word now.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's
Well,
all right.
we'll talk about something else and then it'll probably just pop
It
into.
will. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that you were able to get, your daughter the medical attention and help that she through that process. But
Yeah.
um
She
yeah,
got a diagnosis. And she got the treatment she needed. And it actually turned out okay because when I got out of the military, and then I went from there, I moved to Louisiana, which is where my ex-husband was living. Um, and I married him because he was a Marine. Like I said, we met in the military. Um, uh, since I had a diagnosis and we already knew what treatment she needed, I was able to get her into actually Dallas Children's Medical Hospital and just say, hey, here's all the paperwork, here's her diagnosis. And they were just able to continue her treatment. So, yeah.
well, that's the positive of it all, right? Like the positive that came out of all of the hard times and throughout that experience. So I'm curious what sparked, I mean, it sounds like a little bit of your background and things you've been through is probably the reason, but how you got into journalism.
So the
What sparked it?
journalism was a complete accident. It was a happy accident, but it was an accident. I never, so when I finally did get away from my ex-husband, and the dust had settled, like he wasn't in prison yet because we didn't know the extent of what he had done at that point. But divorce was final. I had full custody of both of my children. And there's that crazy part too, right? All the things that he had accused me of. If I were really guilty of those things, how on earth did I get full custody of my kids? But
Absolutely.
anyway, they don't think about that part. But so I had full custody. I decided to go to school. And so I actually worked and went to school and got my bachelor degree in gerontology because at that point I wanted to work with elderly. Like that's where my heart was then. And then I got several caretaking jobs while I was getting my gerontology degree, just so I could work hands-on with the elderly. And then I decided I love the elderly, but I don't think this is what I wanted to do. I'm like, no, there are certain aspects to taking care of the elderly that I just was not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's why
I
like
learned.
cool, like hands-on experience and like doing the work is so the application part is so different than like going to school for something, right? You can learn
Yeah.
about it, well, and when you're doing it, you're like,
Right. But it was fascinating because during the process of getting my gerontology degree, I was learning about dementia and about Alzheimer's disease. And I began to realize that I was very interested in the mind. And so from there, I actually went and got my master's degree in psychology, is where I went with that. So, and I found psychology to be absolutely fascinating. I love how the brain works and how people think and why people do what they do. And, just studying the mind was just, it was incredible to me. I craved it. So I actually did really well. I graduated with honors with my master's degree in psychology. And then from there, we're going to fast forward. because for a while there, I was just working, going to school, which, getting a graduate degree takes years, bachelor graduate degree, working, going to school, and honestly, writing off any single man or any guy that had anything, even tried to talk to me. I wanted nothing to do with anybody. With any man anyway. I was very salty, and I was very just staying mad bitch.
Why?
Yeah, I didn't trust men, and I honestly saw myself being single for the rest of my life, and I didn't care. I'm like, that's fine. I'll just take care of my kids, and that's where my life is. Um, so fast forward quite a bit. I met Darius, who is now my husband, and he has his own. Oh my gosh, where do we even begin with that? I know, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, like
We all have our
to be
stuff,
like, what in the world? Okay, really should be Lifetime movie. So, um, so when I first met Darius, he was actually married to a woman by the name of Shay, and they were a beautiful, wonderful couple. And I didn't know them that well. I just kind of knew them distantly through a college group that I hung out with. I had a good friend who had bonfires with college groups in her backyard, um, and then Shay passed away in a very tragic way, actually. She had epilepsy, and she unfortunately had a seizure and drowned in the bathtub. And it was very tragic for Darius. They had just gotten married. They had been married for maybe a few months. And it was very tragic for Darius. And again, I didn't know him that well at this point. We were just distant friends. Shay and I had maybe said one or two words together. Like, I really didn't know her. But I felt so badly for Darius. And then Darius kind of disappeared off the map for a while. And then one night, I think it was in 2019. And I promise you, I'm getting to where I am now. Okay.
Oh, I know.
There's like a whole train that kind of just goes towards this direction. Okay.
I have no doubt.
Yeah. So because you have to understand, wow, he just texted me and said, no, it was 2018. Oh, that's funny. He's listening to cameras probably.
I love it. It's so journalistic, fact checking.
Yeah, I said 2018. I had my years off.
Like lies. Let's expose the truth.
That's funny. So I saw him at a bonfire in our friend's backyard, and he had asked me out on a date, and she passed away in 2016, so this is 2 years later. And I said no. Like I said, I didn't want anything to do with any man, right? And I didn't want, I had kind of some casual relationships, but nothing super serious. And I kept writing him off and writing him off. And everyone was like, Darius is such a great guy. Why won't you? I'm like, because I don't want to. I'm like, he talks too much. And I don't, and that's weird. I'm like, I don't want to. And they're like, well, he hasn't talked to any other women, like he's only set sights on you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he kept asking, for like probably a good solid 6 months before I finally agreed to go on a date with him. And then I feel like I fell in love with him that first night. And I'm not even joking.
Aww.
And I didn't even want to admit that. But I did. I absolutely fell in love with him. And, we then did get into a relationship. Things were kind of hard at first because he was still dealing with everything he had gone through. And it was, what he'd gone through was very dark, and sad. And he was still trying to heal from what had happened still. So honestly, us getting into a relationship probably was still too soon. But I stuck it out with him, and he stuck it out with me, and we are where we are today. It took a lot of healing and a lot of coming to Jesus, and he had to stop drinking. Alcohol was his vice. Like, it was what was keeping the demons alive, I guess is what you can say. And he has now been alcohol free for, I want to say, a year. I'm not sure. He'll probably text me and correct me because I'm not sure. Maybe a year in September.
Approximately. That
But so
congratulations. That's awesome.
thank you.
Yeah.
So we then got pregnant and had 14 months. He did correct me. He texted me and said 14 months sober. I'm so freaking proud of him.
Yeah, that's
Look,
amazing.
it's so proud of him.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 2019, we had Indy, which is our now 6-year-old.
No.
And he 2019 was basically the last time that I feel like there was any normalcy in the world, because then 2020 hit. And, we were married, and, we had just had Indy, and he said, "I love you and I'm not listening anymore." Okay. um,
Sweet. That's such a
uh,
cute name, by the way, Indy.
Thank you. His full name's Indiana because we're nerds, and so he's named after Indiana Jones.
Love it.
So
That's
yeah,
also very
very nerd.
bold.
My older son's name is Maverick from Top Gun.
Oh
So
my gosh, so cool.
yeah, so total nerds. But anyways, 2020 happened. Okay. And in 20, and mind you, before 2020, I didn't even understand how politics worked. I had no idea how elections worked. I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't know anything about activism, advocacy, nothing. I was just little old me, being a wife, being a mom, nothing more. Okay. But I also wanted to figure out what to do with my psychology degree. Um, so in 2020, when COVID hit, I honestly became pretty upset because I am very patriotic and I could not stand what I was seeing. It greatly upset me, even in the great state of Texas, to see so many people with their being I feel like they were their bodies were invaded upon, and I just feel like freedoms that I felt like we had rights to were being taken away, and I couldn't stand it. It bothered me so badly. And then I started speaking out on TikTok. I started sharing my opinions on TikTok. And my TikTok actually took off, and I gained a pretty big following. I had like 236,000 followers on TikTok from just me, talking and stating my opinion and what I felt about our constitutional rights. And I felt like they were being violated. And then I began to share things from a psychology point of view, from a psychological point of view, as far as what was going on with kids, because kids were being forced to wear masks and adults were wearing masks. And I'm like, this is not good for child development at all. And everything that I had been taught, this is what I thought was interesting, is everything I had been taught in psychology was literally being ignored during COVID. Like everything that I had been taught was true about psychology and about development and about a child's mind, and everything was just completely being thrown out the window in schools. And, I started to research what was happening in schools with the pediatric gender modification and children being transitioned. And I was like, it was very overwhelming. It was almost like an awakening period of time, like realizing what was going on in the world that I had been sheltering myself from. So I had been sharing lots of opinions online on Facebook. And then I got an invite. And this was the first time I ever went to the Texas Capitol. I got an invite by Representative Steve Toth and several others to come speak from the psychological aspects of children being transitioned, because there were bills in Texas legislation that were being put forward to try and ban pediatric gender modification. And girl, I'm telling you, I didn't know what I was doing, other than like, what the things I've been saying I knew were true and the things that I had researched. But as far as how legislation worked, how to navigate my way around House representatives and around the Texas Capitol, I had no clue. I was like, okay, I'm just going to jump in head first. So I actually did go to the Capitol, and At that point, it was, let's see, when did J6 happen? That was 2021, right? January 6th, 2021. So when I got the invite, it was January 2021. So that whole J6 thing had just happened. And I got on my TikTok and I said, I am going to the Texas Capitol because I had also been asked to sing the national anthem, by the way, because people found out I could sing. So I had
Ooh,
been asked to sing the
secret
national anthem
talent.
and to give a speech regarding pediatric gender modification. And I said I was going to the Capitol to do that. Tell me why, literally the next day, my TikTok was completely gone. Like
Well,
because of that video, they completely took down my TikTok. And then my Facebook was gone a couple days later. And I had my Facebook for, I think, since the beginning of Facebook. So I had pictures on there from when I was in the military, from when my older son was little, when my daughter was little. It was just gone. And I was not able to appeal it. So then, obviously I restarted. I don't know how much time we have. So, I restarted.
yeah.
I restarted a lot of my platforms. I opened several more TikToks accounts after that. And mind you, this is also when it was Twitter and you couldn't say anything on Twitter at all. So I went up to the Capitol. I was freaking terrified. I gave my speech at the press conference. But what was really eye-opening was that even though I was able to finally give my speech at the press conference, people were telling me that normally we would be able to advocate, go from room to room to speak to legislators, to be able to give testimony in hearings. And so for the next few days that I was there, I began to realize, I'm like, but that's not what's happening here. At one point, they wouldn't even allow us into the Capitol. The National Guard was there and they were barring us from even entering like our own house. That's our house, you know? And so I'm like, I don't like what I'm seeing. So that's where a lot of the advocating came from. Was I became friends with some really good activists who had already been there for a while. Got involved with them, got involved with now who is SRAC committee woman Kristen Bentley. We started Texas. We did Texas Freedom Coalition together for several years. And I made some amazing friends during this process, and I learned a lot. And then Elon Musk bought Twitter.
Yeah.
And when Elon Musk bought Twitter and I got on Twitter, X, and a lot of people who were familiar with my other platforms began to come to me and say, look, there are some issues with public schools the smut that we're finding in the public school libraries, the cover-ups that we keep finding out about. We need someone to be a voice for stuff like this. And there were a couple people, you've got libs of TikTok, but for very specific issues where you don't just make a post and walk away and make another post. They actually wanted people to start investigating these cover-ups in the public schools. And so the very first story I ever put out about a public school, I believe, was about Plainview ISD. And a bunch of parents came to me and said, and I didn't even have a big platform on X at that point, but I just, let loose the story and we'll see what happens. But some parents from Plainview ISD here in Texas were very upset because a little girl who was in first grade had been sexually assaulted by multiple boys in her own classroom while a teacher was sitting there with headphones on. And it was recorded on the iPad, on the school iPad, and they never told the parents.
Wow.
And the parents didn't even find out about it until the girl was acting anxious. The little girl was starting to have problems at home. And then she finally came out and told her parents, and the parents were livid. And then when they went to the school, the administration said, well, we did everything we were required to do. And so I put out that story, girl. I think I opened Pandora's box because I wrote that story. It got 4 million views and I gained like 50,000 followers on like the first 2 days that I wrote that story. And then since it got such attention, more people started to come to me about Plainview, but also more people from all over Texas, and then eventually all over the country
Right.
started coming to me like, hey, because it put so much pressure on the school to actually do something. And then from there, I started learning how to help with grievances for school behind the scenes, behind, writing about it online, how to write grievances. I had friends who were very good at writing grievances for the parents and speaking on school boards and holding schools accountable. And so that's kind of where my journalism took off. I'm not sure I would have been able to do any of this without my husband, I guess, is kind of where I was going with telling you about meeting him. Because if it was just me and my two little ones, girl, there ain't no way. There's just no way. But he is so supportive, and he supports what I do and my work, and he's all gung ho about it. So all the trips to go interview parents and go speak on school boards. And honestly, at one point, I was speaking all across Texas about Alfred Kinsey, and that's a whole nother conversation that we can have another time. But the beginning of, the indoctrination of children, I was speaking on that all over Texas. I would not be able to do any of it without him, without a supportive husband. So.
Well, you make as we were talking about support systems earlier, it's huge. It's hard to do things on your own, as strong as you are. Having a good support system, whoever that is in your life, is, really just, it kind of helps you do tough things. It can kind of like boost your confidence, and just to have someone there cheering you on.
Yeah,
definitely.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Like, you can do this, you're strong. I mean, you can do it for yourself, but sometimes, it really helps to have a partner, support system in your life to get you, just for a mile.
And a dad for them, because if I had done this just as a single mom, they wouldn't have anybody in their life. And then I would feel like I'm a hypocrite because I'm not there for my own children. You know what I'm saying? So, when I'm not there, he was there. And he's such a good dad. Like, I had no worries at all. I'm like, he's got this while I'm gone, and I'll come back and pick up the slack. And then, it's such an amazing partnership. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this without him. I wouldn't be able to advocate the way I do or travel the way I do. Of course, right now I'm not traveling much anyway because I just had a baby. But I'm sure as he gets older, I'll probably pick up and try to do more traveling. I know I already have some plans for next year. So, from the journalism aspect of things.
Well, I'm so happy that you have such a beautiful partnership. It really is teamwork, right? The definition of being a team, working together, supporting each other. So that's beautiful. And
it's something I never thought I would have.
Yeah.
Because, my life started off so rocky in the beginning, and I was so hateful towards men. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with any of y'all. So I was able to prove that they're not all the same.
And I always think it tends to be when you're not looking for it, right? It happened organically. You literally weren't looking for it.
I was not. No, not at all. Yeah. No, and it took 6 months of him asking too. So he brings that up with me all the time. He's like, I asked you for 6 months. Why'd you tell me no? I'm like, because I didn't want to be with anybody.
I love
it. I really did.
Persistence. It was just, it was meant to be.
And it brought him out of a dark place too, because he was in a dark place for a while with everything he had gone through. So
again,
it's really kind of beautiful thing.
Definitely. And I'm so happy to hear that, because of all of the struggles that you all, both and family have been through. I think these beautiful things help balance it out a little bit. And so we only have a couple minutes left, which is crazy.
I know.
But I just, I love your passion. I share this passion for accountability. And, holding people accountable, calling things so I can feel like your fire and your spark when it comes to that, wanting the truth to come out and be exposed. And you really, really put yourself out there. I'm sure, and I'm sure this is why it's helpful to have him too. I'm sure it's dangerous sometimes in those situations. You don't feel safe. You have people threatening you, coming after you. I mean, you are kind of used to this. You've been through it in other ways in your life. but you're having it, so I guess it's sort of prepared you, but that's got to be a
This is different though
little bit.
because they involve my family.
Hmm.
So, the stuff I've dealt with, like with the military and all the other, that was just me, but these people involve your family and your personal life and your personal home. It's right here on our soil, so it's a little bit different. But I will say that in the beginning, I was very catty and I would clap back at everything. And I definitely got into the weeds with some people, especially online. But I've definitely learned to just be like, you know what? This is probably some 40-year-old living in his mom's basement. I don't care.
It does help because
Like,
that is very often the case. Yeah.
yeah. So,
You got to right, laugh about it and remind yourself of those things too. So that's a great point. What do you do to, beyond the things you've already mentioned, to take care of yourself, your mental health?
so it's actually fun. So I love decorating, actually. I love decorating and decor and design. So when I am not, and I love playing video games.
Love it.
So, yeah, when I'm not doing what I usually do, which is investigating and researching and all that, I literally turn my brain off by playing video games or designing a new part of my home. So I I don't know. I love the farmhouse simple look right now, so that's kind of what I go for in my house. But that kind of brings me back to a centered
Yeah.
level so that I can, center myself and just do what I actually really enjoy doing, other than the journalism aspect of my life. So,
Yeah, because you can get burnout. That's why I ask, just being aware and taking care of yourself and decompressing when you're doing some serious, work. And
and some days I just need a day and I hop offline, and some days I just need to snuggle with my kids. I'm like, me just hold you. Like my newest one, I just stare at him. He's so stinking cute and so sweet. And sometimes I need to just bring myself.
yeah,
I'm a mother above everything. I'm a mom. So,
absolutely.
and I have to remind myself they are who I'm fighting for. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The why, the purpose. I love it.
absolutely. Hmm.
Sarah, tell everyone any in this last minute or so, where can they find you? How can we, support you?
Yeah. So you can find me at on X as Sarah is censored. I'm not on Instagram very much, or you can find me on Facebook at Sarah J Fields or Sarah Fields. Honestly, to support me, just like and comment and share what I share. I do have a Give Send Go right now, but unless you're familiar with the Anthony case and what's all going on with that, like I would say, don't even worry about that. Just bring attention to my work, please, is all I ask, because I would love more people to see it, because I do work really hard. I spend a lot of days and hours and days on my work. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's evident. I think with investigative journalism, some of these cases and stories can go on for a long time. I would imagine it's lengthy. So, and yeah. And anyways, thank you so, so much for the tough, important work that you do. I appreciate you. It was so nice to have you on and get to learn more about your story, your background. I appreciate you being willing to open up and get personal, because I do think people will relate to that and connect to that. And yeah, thank you so much for everything you're doing to help others, your advocacy. And yeah, I'll continue to support you as well. And you are just the boldest. I mean, seriously. What about this story wasn't bold? There was bold in every sentence. So,
thank you.
Sarah, thank you so, so much. This has been a very bold talk.